Luck has always been a huge part of video games, from getting that right block in Tetris to getting that critical hit in Pokemon. And it's a property that can bring a lot of laughter, as well as a lot of broken controllers. Needless to say, it's something that all of us as players have to deal with. Though in today's episode, I'm gonna discuss 3 types of randomness that has affected the Super Smash Bros. Series in competitive play. So yeah, that means no items. Now, to clear the air, when I say luck and randomness, I'm talking about an outcome that is completely out of you or your opponent's control. In video games, it's commonly known as RNG, outcomes decided by unpredictable computations run by the game. A good example recurring in the series is Peach's turnip pull. She has a chance of plucking one of these items from the common smiling veggie to the very rare bomb. This is what I'd like to classify as reactable RNG. What I mean by reactable is that even though you don't have any control over what Peach pulls out, you do have full control of whether you get hit by it afterwards or not. In other words, the game gives you enough time to react and deal with the random outcome it has created. Similarly, the transformations of Pokemon Stadium in Melee cycles between 4 randomly chosen terrains, but the players are given a lengthy warning beforehand for which one is coming. Again, adequate time is given for the players to deal with the random outcome, which I think is reasonable. Besides Smash, reactable RNG can be seen in other competitive fighting games too, namely Guilty Gear. The character Zappa can spawn either a sword, a dog, or ghosts at random, which he can then use, and the opponent has ample time to react to the random outcome. On the other hand, unreactable RNG would be an event where the players are not given enough time to deal with a random outcome. Take Luigi's Misfire, a much stronger and faster version of his regular side B. In Melee, the odds of misfiring is 1 in 8. At close to medium range, it's pretty much impossible to pull up your shield in time, meaning not only is the action itself determined by RNG, but the result of it is too, being completely out of either player's control, and ultimately left to the roll of the dice. Some may argue that the other player could have safeguarded by holding shield beforehand, or move away preemptively, but how long should they be doing that for? 5 seconds? 10 seconds? The whole match? No, that's ridiculous. Misfire is unpredictable, and when it does happen to hit, players simply have to accept it as good luck, or bad luck. Though of course, no one considers Luigi as a top tier character despite having this random, super strong move, because the odds of it happening are low enough that Luigi players will rarely use it outside of recovery, since a failed misfire will probably mean a hard punish. Not only does unreactable RNG apply to some characters, but it exists in tournament legal stages as well, notably Yoshi's Island from Brawl. Meet Blargwitch, a seemingly harmless platform that can save you from certain death, or do the complete opposite. There's no way for players to account for it, since it rises too fast, and of course, at random. All in all, I don't think unreactable RNG is a good thing for competitive play, no matter how small the odds are, since it undermines skill. So this raises a question. Why did the devs put it in? Why not give players full control of their fate, instead of basing some of it on luck? The reason? Simply because it's exciting. We experience this even in casual gaming, like MMOs and RPGs. Players raid the same enemies over and over again, not because the repetitive act itself is necessarily fun, but anticipating the possibility of that rare item drop is what makes it exciting. Just like how much hype there is when Peach pulls a bomb, or Luigi misfires, or Game & Watch lands a 9.
Is that a 9?
With the 2 kinds of randomness I've mentioned, some players like it and some players don't. It's debatable. But there exists a 3rd type of randomness that it's safe to say no one appreciates. For lack of a better term, let's refer it to as unfair RNG, simply because it's not your opponent, but the game that directly punishes you. A notorious example is tripping in Brawl. For those who don't know, there's a 1% chance your character will trip anytime you initiate a dash, running turnaround, forward smash, or side special while using the control stick. Now, a 1% probability is extremely low, but because of how frequent the RNG is put to the test, you'll probably see a character trip at least a few times in a match. For this very same reason, players cannot foresee or avoid the possibility of tripping, unless they walk and never run, which is obviously silly. So when it does happen near an opponent, all you can do is pray the punishment is minimal. But when we have characters like Ice Climbers, prayers can only do so much. Thankfully, tripping was removed in Smash 4, but another type of unfair RNG was introduced, being how your character dies off the top. Between Star KO, Screen KO, and an Instant KO, the game chooses one at random. Though you might be asking, how is this unfair? Well, although this situation is rare, if you and your opponent trade vertical finishing blows, whoever gets the Star or Screen KO will win for sure, even if they cross the blast zone first. In this match, for example, it didn't matter if the Diddy had better DI, lower percent, and passes the blast zone second. His fate was sealed by the blast zone's RNG. A specific example of a character this RNG affects is Jigglypuff's Rest. The whole point of Rest's vertical knockback is to guarantee Jigglypuff's safety if she manages to land this super risky move at high percent, with the help of the Star KO. But since Instant KO is thrown into the mix as well, how safe it is to punish with Rest turns into luck. In hindsight, I'm sure making a competitive fighter wasn't the first thing on Sakurai's agenda when creating a Smash game. But since a portion of the game's fanbase, you and I, are trying to play the game on a deeper level, when these luck-based situations happen, it can be a little infuriating. When you play better than your opponent, you expect to win, not play better, then get bodied by bad luck. Though as long as luck isn't the dominating factor, the more skilled player will always come out on top in the long run. Just like how luck balances out in the many hands played in poker. And it seems like Sakurai has removed some major RNG based moves in Smash 4, namely Peach's forward smash and Olimars Pikmin. Both now have a set rotation instead of spawning in a random order. Despite how RNG usually takes the control out of the player's hands and puts it into the games, do you think it's still acceptable for competitive play? Or do you think luck has no place in the competitive realm? I leave those questions to you. Well, that's all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's a little late, but I'm planning to do a 2-year Q&A soon, so if you have any questions, ask away. I'll choose some and answer them in the video. Also, if you want to support my work, I do have Patreon. A big thanks to my current patrons, Ameda Lois, Austin Lau, Ethan Stevenson, Pika Maxi, Brooke Miad, and Bernard Smith, and many others for your continued support. It's helping me out a lot and I really appreciate it. Well, with that said, I'll see you guys again next time.